Organic Dope, MMA Chat 7. Before we get into UFC 52, Jones versus Belfort, how about Jon Jones?
Oh, man, I like Jon Jones, but boy, he is bringing pussy to a whole new level in the UFC.
What do you think, Rob?
I never liked Jon Jones. Actually, I take that back. I liked him back when he was fighting like Stephan Bonner, and I was like, wow, this guy's doing some stuff I ain't never seen before, you know.
But why didn't he take chael sonnen?
Because Greg Jackson told him that there was a very good chance he could lose, evidently. That chael sonnen was a very dangerous opponent, which I guess is true to an extent.
He's given the number one pound per pound fighter in the world a run for his money twice. The only guy to do it in how long?
Yeah, but come on. He's not a real challenge for Jon Jones. Not on no training and no 8 days notice. I don't care what anybody says that Chael was training and Chael knew and all this shit. Dan Henderson's already said...
He trains all the time. I mean, he's
he may train all the
ready.
time, but he did not train with Dan Henderson. Dan Henderson's already put that to rest. He was not training with Dan Henderson. He may have been pulling for Dan Henderson to win, but he was not training at Dan Henderson's camp. Yeah, I mean, it's not all Jon Jones' fault. 151 got canceled, but, you know, he still should have taken the fight. You know, at first I was super pissed, and I was like, I heard, you know, the whole Dana White press conference thing where he was just going off on Jon Jones and Greg Jackson, and I totally agreed with him when I first heard it. But as time went on, you know, I was like, okay, yeah, I can see, you know, he definitely should have taken the fight because, you know, chael sonnen ain't been training. This Jon Jones has had a full training camp, regardless of who he was training for. He's had a full 8-week training camp. He's prepared. He should be able to fight anybody if he's one of the best in the world, which he is. I really don't think there was very little chance of chael sonnen beating him. I don't see the downsides.
You think Greg Jackson thought otherwise, though, right?
Greg Jackson, you know, I don't know. I'm not a fan of his either, you know. But yeah, I don't think chael sonnen had much of a chance at all of beating Jon Jones. Granted, he had a much better chance based on the type of wrestling he does compared to Dan Henderson of actually getting a takedown. But I just don't think he could have held Jon Jones down. Nobody's even taken Jon Jones down, have they? I don't think I've ever seen Jon Jones on their back. I mean,
same thing was said about Anderson Silva too, though.
No, Dan Henderson took
Daniel Cormier put him on his back.
Yeah, Daniel Cormier just pick him straight up like he did Josh Barnett. And,
that was impressive, the pickup of Josh Barnett.
And throw him over his head.
By his hip.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Josh Barnett's no small guy.
But, you know, I don't think it's all Jon Jones' fault. I mean, there's a lot of fault to go around.
The rest of the card was pretty terrible.
I mean, we even said before we did the last video that, you know, the rest of the card did look pretty weak and that they were holding the whole card up with Jon Jones only, which is something that Dana White said he'd never do. You're always going to have stacked cards, and you're never going to rely on just one card to hold the card up.
Could this just be a product of all the injuries that have been around?
I think it's because of Fox, honestly.
I don't know. There's been a lot of injuries, though. I mean, you look around how many injuries there's been, people dropping like flies. And then you start having limited who you can replace people with also and who you can put onto cards. When you're trying to... Because you put together these... You know, you've got next, 3 cards like planned out, basically. So when you're trying to put those together, you got to remember that you can't pull certain people because then you're pulling them from other cards and changing those fights.
But there's a lot more free fights going on since the Fox deal. You got UFC on Fox, you got UFC on Fuel, you got UFC on FX, plus all the pay-per-views they were doing anyway. When they were on Spike, they were only doing like UFC Fight Night maybe like once every month tops, maybe once every 2 months. I mean, now they're doing, like, sometimes they're having a Fox, a FX, and a Fuel card all in 1 month, and a pay-per-view. You know, you're having UFC fights every week. I mean...
There's that many guys, though. There's that many guys that have won fights.
But there's not that many top-tier guys that can draw money. And there was not even really a co-main event for UFC 151. That's the problem. I mean, honestly, if I was in charge, you know, and you know, I'm not Dana White, and I'm not a businessman running a probably $1 billion organization, but I would have kept that fight on. I mean, maybe it's not good enough for pay-per-view, but, you know, put it on, the prelims are already going to be on fuel anyway. Keep the whole card on fuel. You know, get those people. I mean, some of those people got paid anyway. He said, but you know, I don't think it was a reason to cancel it just because Jon Jones is out of the fight. Granted, it may not have been good enough for great pay-per-view numbers, but I mean, honestly, I think they should have kept it on pay-per-view because it caused too much problems. I mean, like he was saying, you know, people paid tickets for airplane fare and hotels, and they can't get that money back. They might be able to get their tickets refunded for the UFC event, but they ain't going to get their refund for an airplane ticket or something. I mean, they should have just put the event on without Jon Jones. Granted, it probably would have been horrible pay-per-view numbers, you know, worse than 147, worse than 149. You know, just horrible numbers.
Just eat the cost, though, I guess, at the UFC.
They're eating the cost anyway.
They got tons of money.
They paid $2 million in advertising.
Yeah, I mean, they're eating the cost anyway.
That's what I'm saying. Just eat it. I mean, I would, as a company.
At least they'll make some money. I mean, if they put the event on, they'll make the gate, you know. But, you know, there's no goodwill come out of this by, you know. I mean, granted, Jon Jones and Greg Jackson are going to take the brunt of it, but I don't think anybody came out looking like roses other than maybe Chael Sonnen and Anderson Silva. That's about it. I think Chris Weidman offered to fight Jon Jones too, but that was kind of after the fact, like after they had canceled.
Yeah, all the 185ers stepped up, non 205ers.
Right, yeah. Well, they know they ain't going to be fighting Anderson Silva anytime soon.
Well, I can see lyoto Machida turning it down. He done lost to him. He wants to train for him, right?
I understand the reasoning.
If he loses that fight, he doesn't get another one.
But wasn't his last fight supposed to be the number one contender?
Yeah,
so
but
you
only got 3 weeks
earlier.
But you know, we
yeah,
can't get.
But if
we
he
can't
loses
get
it, he doesn't get another shot.
We can't get it twisted though, because it's not like Jon Jones is being asked to take a fight while he's sitting on the couch eating Cheetos, you know, for 8 weeks. He's been training for 8 weeks for a world-class fighter who can knock you out with one punch.
Should any fighter be sitting home eating Cheetos for 8 weeks?
Well, Rampage does probably.
Look at
I mean, he says he puts on gets up to over 265 in between fights. So I mean, Roy Nelson, you know, he's eating Burger King. He said it himself. You know?
I find that a little different, though. I'm just talking to your top tier guys.
Matt Mitrione said he'd fight Jon Jones,
and he'd lose. Yeah. Matt Mitrione. I mean, he might be able to take the strikes from Jon Jones, but I mean, he can out-wrestle Jon Jones.
We could hit
He
him.
can be faster. Yeah, but has he knocked out anybody?
I think I like Vitor.
What?
Not to win the fight, but I like the fight. I mean, you wanted to test him with Henderson punching him. Vitor's got power in his hands.
Vitor's got big power.
Yeah,
sure.
if he can test, if he doesn't sit back like he fought with Anderson, if he comes out and fights like he did with Vanderlei back in the day,
and if Jon Jones comes out like not Rampage, but Rumble did, it's over. Period. He just takes Vitor down and just elbows the shit out of him and doesn't get tired like Rumble did. It's over. First round. I don't see how that is even. I don't even understand how that fight came about. I mean, how does it go? How do you go
he
from
called Dana White? Said,
I know
if
he
you
called
need me,
Dana
I'm there.
White, but how does it go from Chael offered to fight you? No, I'm not fighting Chael. Okay, well, Lyoto's going to fight you at 152. Lyoto turns it down. Why didn't it go back to Chael's going to fight you at 152 then? Where did Chael?
Maybe
was
he said
taken out
here you can fight Vitor, you can fight Chael, you can fight so and so, and he said I want to fight Vitor.
Well, yeah, he does want to fight
Jones knows
Vitor.
that's a better fight for him. It's a big name with a guy that's past his prime.
Well, he said he wanted to fight.
Why not take your chances with him?
Right, it's another good
fight
for his resume.
He said he wanted to fight another former light heavyweight champion. You know, I did look up Vitor's record, though. You know, he hasn't been finished a lot. He's lost quite a few times, but I mean, he hasn't been finished a whole lot. And which I was kind of surprised because it seems like he's had a lot of losses, but I guess most of them been decision.
His most recent was from KO, you know, from a front kick and punches.
Yeah, from Anderson Silva. Yeah,
but yeah, he had
he lost
decisions
to
Dan
Randy
Henderson.
Couture, I think.
He had decisions to Alistair Overeem loss, 2 of them actually. He had a decision loss with Tito Ortiz. TKO loss to Randy Couture.
Long time ago, though.
Yeah, that was in 04. We're back a while ago. Unanimous decision with Chuck Liddell. Decision with Sakuraba. TKO loss from
Yeah, you're getting way back.
Randy Couture again too.
Right. So
Yeah, you're talking 97.
So I mean, in the last 15 years, he's been finished 3 times and twice by Randy Couture. You know, which isn't so good because Jon Jones can definitely duplicate Randy Couture's.
Or he's got miles at least.
I just think that if Rumble hadn't gassed, Rumble would have won that fight.
Yeah, Belfort's 35.
And that was basically at. I mean, Rumble.
Yeah,
weighed
I think Jones beats him and should be the favorite.
Yeah, him and Rumble fought at 193.
You still get the
193 pounds.
No, Rumble weighed in at 211. I'm almost
yeah,
positive.
he was like 16 pounds over or some ridiculous shit like that.
It said catch weight of 195 pounds.
Yeah, he didn't make.
But
that
I guess
weight.
he didn't. Or no,
Yeah, he didn't make
he
that
had
weight.
to be under.
197.
And Rumble looked massive in that
Yeah,
fight.
he had to be under 200
but,
or he couldn't even fight, I think.
Yeah, he looked massive in that fight, but I mean, if he hadn't gassed, he won that fight totally. I mean, he wouldn't have got submitted. He was totally beating the shit. You see his face after that fight?
I don't remember the fight.
It was awful. I mean,
Vitor's or
Vitor's face was fucked up. Vitor submitted Rumble off his back with a triangle, I think. Is that what it says, triangle?
Rear naked choke, yes.
Okay, well, somehow he got his back.
well, he's got to connect. He's got to beat him and finish up on him. That's his chance at it.
I don't
If
think he has.
If he goes right down, then
I think out of all the people that could have fought Jon Jones, like out of like lyoto machida, chael sonnen, Dan Henderson, and Vitor, I think Vitor's got the least chance of winning out of all of them.
he started out like a 15-1 underdog. It's like 8-1 now.
And I'm pulling for Vitor for sure. I mean, I'd love to see Vitor beat Jon Jones at this point, but you know, I mean, I don't feel like it's all Jon Jones' fault, though. I mean, even though they're trying to put the whole thing on Jon Jones, and granted, he should, being the champion, he should have taken the fight, you know. Tito Ortiz has taken fights at shorter notice. You know, there's other fighters that have taken fights at short notice. Granted, 8 days isn't a lot, but he did have a full training camp. He was preparing for a wrestler. Not
totally
as good,
different wrestler.
Totally different wrestler, true. Not as good of a wrestler as Chael Sonnen as far as MMA wrestling goes. But far
you could
less...
easily
far
say it was less dangerous.
Yeah, far less knockout power, for sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's no chance, I think, that Chael Sonnen's knocking him out with one punch. Yeah, they're different stances. But, you know, you got...
He would have been able to adjust. Look at what he's done in the ring anyway, man.
I do think
it
that...
don't fucking matter.
Dan
you're the
Henderson,
main event, you're the champ.
Dan Henderson supposedly knew that he was injured 2 weeks out and didn't say anything, but
Yeah,
he also thought that he was going to be able to fight even injured. He didn't think it was because he's never pulled out of a fight before, he said. So he thought he was going to be able to heal up in time and make the fight. But
do you think everybody forgets about it when he smashes Vitor?
no, it'll always be known as the UFC. As long as that's the only UFC that's ever canceled, it'll always be known as the UFC that Jon Jones destroyed. You know, I mean, he'll never really live that down, no matter what he does. He'll be known as the guy that canceled the only UFC fight ever.
What if Vitor clean knocks him out?
Then Vitor will be a hero in the eyes of the fans. I mean, really. I mean, I would have been rooting for it pretty much. I can't think of anybody right off the top of my head that if you say, okay, this guy's fighting Jon Jones, that I wouldn't be rooting for the other guy at this point. You know, if you tell me Brandon Vera's fighting Jon Jones tomorrow, I'm rooting for Brandon Vera, and I'm not a fan of his. You know, and I've said that a few videos ago, you know. Granted, he did look pretty decent against Shogun, but I'm not a big fan of Brandon Vera. Matt Hamill, if you told me Matt Hamill's getting a rematch against Jon Jones...
I swear that's the only reason they're bringing him back up.
I have
because
no idea.
He's got that win on the record, so...
You never
In
know.
case we run out of people, maybe Hamill can string together some wins. We can throw him back in there.
If I was Matt Hamill, I wouldn't want to fight Jon Jones again after what happened to him. Holy shit.
Yeah, well, Sportshound Canada will be happy. They filled in his card.
Oh, yeah.
He said he had tickets.
Yeah, he's...
He was pissed because BJ got cut off. Didn't know if they'd fill it up.
Jon Jones versus Belfort.
Surprise!
Unless he's a big Belfort fan, you know? But, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's all Jon Jones' fault, but I think the majority of the fan base are going to blame Jon Jones, you know, I mean, and Dana White sure isn't backing off of it. You know, on Monday or Tuesday, he was interviewed by Ariel Helwani, and he didn't back off anything he said about Jon Jones or Greg Jackson.
Well, I think it'd be pretty cool if he lost to Vitor.
It would be cool, but honestly, I'm cool with him being beat by anybody at this point, just to give him some humility. You know, there was only a few people that took Jon Jones' side as far as like saying that
he shouldn't have taken that fight.
That you know, he has to make his own decisions and whatnot. Frankie Edgar said that yeah, he would have talked to his coaches and he would have found out what they thought was best, but he says that even if they would have told him not to take the fight, that he would have taken it. So, Frankie Edgar, you know.
Frankie Edgar's the man.
He is the man, and I'm going to go ahead and say in advance, I'm picking him.
Against Aldo?
Yeah, I'm picking him. Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Aldo's a bad man.
Aldo is a bad man, but if Gray Maynard couldn't knock out Frankie Edgar, I don't think Aldo can. The only thing Aldo I think has got is the leg kicks. He better leg kick the shit out of Frankie Edgar or he's going to lose, I think.
What do you think prematurely, Bill?
Aldo.
That's what I think.
But I like Edgar, man. It's going to be a badass fight.
You think he can finish Edgar? I don't think so.
Doesn't have to finish him to win.
You know, I kind of feel like that's a super fight. You know? I mean, it's,
a big fight.
People don't think it's a super fight because it's not champion versus champion, but I feel like it kind of is champion versus champion because
he won that last fight.
Because I think Frankie beat Ben Henderson, and you know if he beat Ben Henderson, he's the champion. You know, the judges say he didn't, but he looked like he lost that fight to me.
I'm still think it's a super fight. I mean, if he's not the champion, he's right there next to him. So I mean,
I think it technically is champion versus champion to me. And you know, I went back and this last
technically,
week.
I mean, technically not really because he's technically not the champ. But
that's true.
I just had to point out technically.
Yeah, well, screw those judges because they're wrong. But I watched both fights recently on Fuel because they played them both recently. And, you know, after watching the first fight again, I could see how they might give that first fight to Frankie, too. You know, I could see 2 rounds for sure for Ben. But 3, it's kind of hard to give Ben 3. I mean, I could see maybe.
I gave him the first fight.
You gave Frankie the first fight?
1, 3, and 5.
You know, at first I thought Ben won for sure, but when I watched it again, I was like, you know, I can only really count 2 rounds for sure that
the first time I watched it, I gave him 1, 2, and 5. The second time I watched it, I gave him 1, 3, and 5.
Yeah, I could see how they could give the first
last fight. I gave him 4 to 1.
Yeah,
I'd like to see Ian McCall versus Ronda Rousey.
Ronda Rousey's bigger than Ian McCall.
I know, but she's a girl, so you know. You gotta make it even.
I'm not sure that there's very many guys in that weight area that could beat Ronda Rousey.
You know who made the most salary at UFC 148?
I don't even remember who was
it. Forrest Griffin, $275,000.
Yeah, but they said that
he had a $150,000 win bonus.
They said that Anderson Silva might make $7 million. So there's money coming from somewhere.
I think he gets like $4 or $5 a buy on pay-per-view bonuses.
I don't know, but
Chael Sonnen, you're right, made $50,000.
There's more money coming, though. I mean, it's got to be.
Yeah, those guys make tons of money on
more than just the
advertising and.
Now, granted, the undercard guys are getting screwed in a lot of ways. You know, if they got
but people say that, but they're making a lot more than the undercard boxers.
I don't.
People always say boxing makes more money. Well, it's like
I don't know what
this many boxers make money. You know, the rest of them make fucking shit. You know, too. The middle tier fighters make more money than a middle tier boxer. Believe that.
Ronda Rousey, super dominant. Only had 1 fight so far in her career that's been over a minute. Or no.
She's gonna have what 6 first round arm bars.
Yeah,
that's a bad bitch.
And only 1 person has went out of the first 2 minutes or something like that. Now she wants to fight Cyborg, and I couldn't believe Cyborg.
She called her Cyroid.
Yeah, Cyroid. That was a good name. I couldn't believe that Cyborg was saying that she should have to come up to 145. Fuck her.
Right.
You got caught cheating, and you got the title stripped, and yeah, you should have to come down to 135. Oh, she can't make the weight. Well, I agree with Ronda Rousey. Stop taking steroids, and you'll make the weight. You know, I think
That's
Rousey
funny.
beats her too. Honestly,
Well, I think that's about it for the news.
Oh,
It's all Jon Jones, isn't it?
Arlovski fought Tim Sylvia
Oh,
recently.
yeah, a couple soccer kicks.
Yeah, that was some
Knock them
bullshit.
out. Dude, they both suck.
I thought Arlovski looked pretty good for being that Tim Sylvia was basically just clinching him and pushing him up against the cage the whole fight until he got knocked out.
Jab. Arlovski's got a 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, some leg kicks.
And he still got some power though. He fucking floored him.
I didn't see it.
Neither one of them guys beats anybody in the UFC no more, dude.
I think they could beat some people. Maybe not Tim Sylvia. Tim Sylvia's cardio looked horrible. He looked like he was gassed after the first
Tim Sylvia
round.
ain't never beaten nobody. Arlovski
I think Arlovski could beat some
could beat who?
low people. I think he could beat Dave Herman.
Probably not.
People
Just-
will watch.
He just can't hang at the
Arlovski.
top level in the UFC anymore. You could see that out of both of them.
I think he showed enough in that fight to get another chance. Tim Sylvia, not so much.
I call shenanigans.
So I guess
Never gonna happen.
So I guess Donald Cerrone's fighting Anthony Pettis next. Apparently,
Yeah,
Yeah.
saying
they
it's
said
gonna
that apparently Anthony Pettis' manager said Cowboys made it personal. So
Yeah,
we'll
he
see
did
about
say
that.
some shit alike.
I
They
didn't-
said Pettis was ducking him, even though Pettis was injured or something.
That's a good
I don't know. I
fight.
didn't hear anything about that.
I don't know. I don't know if Pettis can win that fight. I usually would
I don't
pick
think
Pettis.
so.
in
I'm gonna
most
say Donald
fights,
Cerrone.
That's fight of the night right there. No matter who else was on the card.
but Cerrone is just durable, man. I mean,
I like
I
Donald
remember
Cerrone.
they showed the Nate Diaz Cerrone fight recently again. Man, he took a lot of punishment in that fight.
He looked flat in that fight too, though.
But I mean, for taking so many punches to the stomach and the face and not going down, that guy's got a chin like granite.
Look how he got knocked loopy against.
Yeah, but Melvin Gillard
Melvin Gillard.
hits probably harder than almost anybody in lightweight.
That's what I'm
except
saying.
except
And
for
Donald,
maybe
that's what I'm
Gray
saying.
Maynard.
Donald Cerrone took that shot and recovered to knock his ass out.
Yeah, I mean,
Donald
was a
Cerrone's
bad
tough. Donald Cerrone's a tough dude.
He's
And I
got,
think
he's got a hard ass chin. I mean, he does.
he took. I mean, Melvin Gillard hits hard, real hard, and he took couple clean shots. You know, was stumbling and wobbled all over the place and recovered and came back to land his own knockout impressively.
Nate Diaz is going to be the champ.
Nate Diaz is going to be the champion. The only people that can beat him is going to be somebody with phenomenal wrestling that can avoid getting submitted from the bottom. And Nate Diaz is real good at submitting people from the bottom. I mean, like, remember, you see that one fight? Who was it? He got a triangle. He's holding him in a triangle, and he, like, does this while he's got him in a triangle. He's, like, choking him out, and he's making muscles at the same time. That shit was
Did
the bomb.
Diaz fight Maynard?
Twice, and lost twice. But honestly, I don't think he lost the second time. The first time didn't count as an
That's that guy that's bad for him.
They don't count the first loss as an official loss, though, because it was on the Ultimate Fighter. You know, they don't ever count that on your record because it's only 2 rounds.
Maynard gets away from his wrestling, though, so...
Well, that's the thing. They did a stand-up fight the second time they fought, and I thought he lost that fight. I thought Gray Maynard lost. But they gave the decision to him. I don't know, that's some bullshit.
So we're going to go ahead and get into 151. Make sure you look for the video. Check it out.
152, you mean?
152.
It should have been
151.
Should be
151.
151, the card that
That
Jon
never
Jones
happened.
murdered.
Just stays 151 as blank.
Yeah. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Like, subscribe. What's the other one?
Favorite.
Favorite. Like,
Do all
subscribe.
that
Hey,
shit.
let's ask a question. This is a
Shoot.
good time to ask a question. If you think it was Jon Jones' fault that 151 got canceled, give a thumbs up. If you think the blame needs to be passed around to several people, Dan Henderson, Jon Jones, Dana White, whoever, give a thumbs down.
Well, that's a thumbs up from a shitload of people.
I'm telling
probably.
you, it should be. So watch the end of this
I
video.
can give a minute percentage to the rest of it, but
I would actually give it a thumbs down because I think
he's
I
the
think
fucking
blame,
champ. He's got to take.
He should have
that
took the fight, but I think the blame needs to pass around to a lot of different people.
Nah.
The card should have been better if they could have stood on its own.
Jon Jones should have not been a puss and taken the
He
fight.
should have taken the fight, yeah. Regardless of what the rest of the card was. Even if it was the best card in the universe, he should have taken the fight. But
You're the champ. You've
If
been,
he
you've been
was-
training, like we said. You've
if
been
it was-
training in a full training camp. Fight someone.
if it was UFC 148 with Anderson Silva versus Chael Sonnen on it, and Jon Jones was on the undercard fighting fucking Chael Sonnen, I know it's impossible.
Yeah,
for
because Chael
Sonnen to
Sonnen's fighting.
but it's a big card already, is what I'm saying. he should have taken the fight. Even if it was that big of a card, where it's not even going to hurt the fight. If you're the light heavyweight champion and you're basically undefeated and third number ranked pound for pound in the world, and you've had a full training camp, you should take the fight versus anybody that's in your weight class, much less someone that's a weight class below you. Yeah, he should have.
Rob, that was one hell of a scenario where
Chael
Sonnen fights for the
he fights twice
for the 185 title and the 205 title on the same night.
That's
a tough weigh-in. It's a tough weigh-in. I'm 185. Hold on, let me take this drink. I'm 205.
Hold on, when I was putting...
And not to mention that title fight's on the undercard.
When
the 205, it's on the undercard.
How can you be the main event if you're fighting if Anderson Silva's fighting the title fight? You can't be the main event if Anderson Silva's fighting.
So you're undercard.
He's the greatest in the world.
Right.
So you're on Facebook.
Not undercard, co-main event.
Okay.
Okay, let's change it, okay? You've made maybe you sound like a complete ass now. UFC 100, okay? Chael's fighting Jon Jones on the undercard, and he turns it down. Even that card, which was an awesome card and drew like the best pay-per-view rate ever for the UFC, and it's not going to hurt it at all if he turns the fight down. He still should have taken the fight. That's what I'm saying.
Gotcha now.
Regardless of how good the card is, if you're that good, you should take the fight, and Greg Jackson should have told him that, don't be scared, homie.
Maybe Nike will make a new shoe called Quitter. They'll put a Jon Jones on.
Like Chael Sonnen said that Nike's have to change their slogan to just do nothing. Yeah, their slogan. Slogan to just do nothing.
Just don't do it.
It's Bones knows. Bones knows how to quit.
Yeah.
Right?
Apparently.
Well, I would have been rooting against him regardless. I don't hate the guy. He's a phenomenal fighter. And,
somebody's going to catch him.
I'd pick Cormier against Jon Jones. If Jon Jones was stupid enough to go to heavyweight and fight
Cormier will be
Cain Velasquez.
Cormier could never come to 205. I don't think that
JDS.
He can make it.
You think he can make 205?
He can make it.
It was a tough cut. That dude weighs like 260.
No, he don't. He's like 235.
Yeah, he's like 242 maybe.
Whatever.
I mean,
he could do it.
There's some heavyweights. If he went to heavyweight, yeah, I'd like to see them beat.
Jon Jones' ankles couldn't handle heavyweight.
Can't wait to see him and Mir for real, and it's going to be good.
Mir and Jon Jones?
Mir and Cormier.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be cool.
It's in like November, right?
Yeah.
They moved
could
to
actually
November.
go to that. Probably, I think it's Oklahoma.
November 3rd.
Yeah, they probably haven't announced all the fights yet.
Can Rousey fight on that card?
No, she ain't going to fight again.
Fuck it then, I'm not going.
She said
it's in Oklahoma.
I think she said she wants Cyborg next, but I don't think Cyborg can fight till next year.
She can't make 135.
You don't think Cyborg can make 135?
Fuck no.
Fight
her Adam's apple weighs 3 pounds. That's 3 of it. Weighs more than her boobs.
You want to see Ian McCall though, huh?
Yeah, Cormier only weighs 238.
I think Ronda Rousey would take his arm off.
Yeah, I think Ian McCall gets tapped. Shit, I think most of the fucking flyweights would lose to Ronda Rousey.
Not Mighty Mouse.
Not Mighty Mouse?
Nope.
Actually, I think Mighty Mouse.
Speedy Gonzalez.
I think Mighty Mouse would lose. Actually,
it's gonna be a tough fight he's got.
Yeah, he's got a tough fight, but I think Rousey would beat him.
We're actually gonna review that Mighty Mouse fight. Check it out, UFC 152 breakdown. It's MMA Chat 7. We out.
Peace.